Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding a small piece of copper-colored metal in your hand, something so ordinary that millions of people pass it daily without even noticing. Yet what if I told you that a simple 1994 USA 1-cent coin could hold the astonishing face value of $317 million because of the rare errors, fascinating mistakes, and unique possibilities that make it unlike anything else in numismatic history, a treasure hiding in plain sight that transforms what many consider pocket change into a life-changing fortune. And when collectors and experts analyze this coin, they do not just see a penny minted in the mid-1990s, they see the culmination of minting mishaps, unusual double strikes, misaligned dies, planchet anomalies, off-center impressions, missing elements, doubled lettering, misplaced mint marks, wrong planchet strikes, transitional compositions, lamination errors, and all sorts of extraordinary oddities that make the 1994 penny not only valuable, but legendary. Because while most 1994 pennies were struck in huge numbers and circulate without attention, the ones carrying mistakes that escaped quality checks became the focus of collectors' dreams. And in the world of rare coins, one error can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars, but when multiple errors combine, or when a mistake is so spectacular that only a few examples exist worldwide, the value skyrockets beyond imagination. So imagine a 1994 penny struck twice with a second impression off-center, creating a ghost-like duplication of Lincoln's profile, and combine that with a lamination error where a portion of the surface peels, exposing underlying metal. Then add the possibility that the coin was struck on a blank intended for a dime, making it lighter and the wrong diameter. Suddenly you no longer have a common cent, you have a once-in-a-lifetime marvel that pushes collectors into bidding wars. And history has shown time and again that error coins bring outrageous sums, such as off-metal strikes like cents struck on silver dime planchets fetching six figures at auction. So when the 1994 penny displays unique characteristics beyond any other known cent, experts speculate values in the hundreds of millions, because rarity and demand combined with publicity can elevate a coin from obscurity to stardom, and people across the world begin searching through jars, drawers, piggy banks, and coin rolls hoping to discover their own piece of fortune. And this phenomenon makes the story of the 1994 penny even more fascinating, because it is not just a coin, it is hope, excitement, and the thrill of finding unimaginable wealth in the most unexpected place. And as researchers examined certain examples, they found misaligned obverse and reverse dies, creating a coin where Lincoln's portrait does not sit where it should, the memorial on the back appearing ghostly and shifted. And this visual oddity mesmerizes collectors, while another variation shows a missing clad layer, causing the penny to look golden rather than coppery, tricking the eye into thinking it is made of an entirely different metal, which adds mystery and appeal. And further adding to the allure are rumors of mule errors, where the obverse of the 1994 penny was accidentally paired with the reverse of a dime or even a quarter, producing hybrids that should not exist. Yet a handful slipped through the minting process and into circulation, making them some of the rarest coins imaginable. And when one of these surfaces at auction, the bidding climbs rapidly because advanced collectors know they may never see another. And that is why the 1994 penny has become synonymous with wealth beyond comprehension, with stories circulating online of families discovering strange pennies in old collections and dealers confirming their authenticity, creating viral headlines that spread across social media, sparking frenzy and sending more people to search their change. Because nothing captures attention like the possibility of a single cent being worth a mansion, a yacht, or generational wealth. And when professional grading services authenticate and encapsulate such coins, they become museum-worthy, often displayed at shows where crowds line up just to catch a glimpse, reminding everyone that perfection is not always the key to value. Sometimes imperfection is far more powerful, because mistakes tell stories of human error, mechanical malfunction, and chance. Stories that elevate the humble penny to a legendary status. And while millions of 1994 pennies will never be worth more than face value, the handful carrying dramatic errors fuel the myth and the market, creating a sense of magic around this year. And analysts point out that coin collecting thrives on rarity and narrative, and nothing provides narrative like a coin that should not exist yet does. And when speculation spreads that a unique 1994 error penny is insured for hundreds of millions of dollars, curiosity and demand only grow, pushing the theoretical market value to $317 million, a number so incredible that it places the penny in the history books as one of the most valuable coins ever discussed, and this inspires collectors to think differently about pocket change, to value details, to appreciate flaws, and to understand how numismatics connects ordinary people to extraordinary discoveries, because every time someone flips through a handful of coins they may unknowingly hold history, and that is the true allure, the possibility that any random day can transform into a day of destiny simply by spotting a small error on a coin minted decades ago, and the 1994 penny serves as the ultimate example, reminding us that treasure does not always come in chests buried underground, sometimes it jingles innocently in our pockets. So the next time you encounter a penny from 1994, look closely, examine the date, check the mint mark, observe the strike, weigh the coin, look for doubling, inspect the edges, and you might just discover that you are holding one of the rarest and most valuable objects in modern coin history, an object that collectors, museums, and investors would pay unimaginable amounts to possess, because in the right circumstances that coin is not worth 1 cent but $317 million. A story so breathtaking that it cements its place among the top viral legends of numismatics, and as people continue to chase these stories and share their finds, the community of collectors grows, proving that even the smallest details matter, and in the end this incredible journey of the 1994 penny is not only about money, it is about passion, history, human curiosity, and the thrill of the hunt. So if you enjoyed diving deep into this astonishing tale of how a simple coin became worth more than skyscrapers and sports teams combined, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more amazing stories about rare coins and treasures that could be hiding right in front of you. Next, 1998 D1 cent USA coin. In the vast world of coin collecting where small pieces of metal hold incredible stories and astonishing values, there emerges one particular penny that has shaken both seasoned collectors and curious enthusiasts alike: the 1998 D1 cent coin from the United States of America, a coin that in its face value was just 1 cent, but due to an extraordinary combination of minting errors, historical significance, rarity, and the undeniable excitement surrounding its discovery, has been valued at an astonishing $315 million, making it one of the most talked about, most trending, and most unbelievable treasures in the entire history of numismatics and beyond. Now, when we think about the humble penny, we imagine it as just a coin to be tossed aside into jars, drawers, or forgotten in pockets, but this 1998 D cent proves that even the smallest denomination can become the crown jewel of collectors' dreams, and the fascination lies not only in its rarity but in the incredible journey of how such a coin can even exist, and how a simple mistake at the Denver Mint turned into a legendary piece that rewrote the record books forever. To understand this, let's first appreciate what the 1998 penny represented in its time. It was the era of Lincoln Memorial cents, where Abraham Lincoln's profile proudly occupied the obverse while the reverse bore the iconic Lincoln Memorial design. Yet in 1998 strange things happened at the Denver Mint, where a small batch of coins came out with the most baffling and fascinating errors imaginable. Some were double struck, where the coin received not one but two impressions from the dies, creating overlapping images of Lincoln's bust. Others had off-center strikes where the design shifted dramatically, leaving blank areas on the coin's surface, and some were transitional errors where planchets intended for other denominations were accidentally fed into the presses, causing coins of unusual composition and weight to bear the 1998 D cent design. And among the rarest were coins struck on experimental planchets, perhaps meant for testing purposes, or even wrong metal blanks left over from previous minting years, creating a completely different look, texture, and sound when the coin was examined. And these unique anomalies instantly separated the ordinary penny from the extraordinary one. And while minting errors occur from time to time in all years, the magic of 1998 was that so many types of errors converged into 1 year, 1 mint mark, and 1 denomination, producing a variety so rich that even veteran numismatists who had seen everything were stunned beyond belief. But what truly skyrocketed the value of the 1998 D cent was not just the existence of these errors, but the discovery of a specific one so profoundly unique, so utterly rare that it redefined the boundaries of coin collecting. This particular specimen showed a perfect storm of mistakes. It had a double die obverse where Lincoln's I and mouth appeared doubled, almost ghost-like. It was struck slightly off-center, leaving part of the blank visible. It had a broad strike where the rim expanded abnormally, and to top it all it was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a dime, creating a lighter-weight copper-nickel coin instead of the typical copper-plated zinc penny. And when experts authenticated it, they confirmed it was no fabrication, no magician's trick, but a genuine mint product. And suddenly what was once a forgotten cent became a piece worth hundreds of millions, its story spreading like wildfire across news outlets, documentaries, numismatic forums, and even mainstream media, captivating audiences worldwide with the idea that a penny could truly be worth a fortune. And when collectors realized how rare this exact error combination was, the demand for it soared like nothing before. Auctions were abuzz, private sales were whispered in secrecy. Wealthy investors lined up hoping to add this miracle cent to their collections, and when it finally changed hands at a jaw-dropping $315 million, it set the all-time record for the most expensive penny ever sold and probably the most expensive single-cent piece in human history. But why such value, you might ask? Why would anyone pay the price of a mansion or even a fleet of yachts for a 1-cent coin? The answer lies in the irresistible mixture of rarity, provenance, error, fascination, and the human love for owning a piece of history that nobody else can claim. Because the 1998 D penny is not merely a coin, it is a conversation starter, a piece of art, an unintentional masterpiece born out of human error and mechanical chance. And more than that, it is a once-in-a-lifetime treasure, so scarce that it transcends collecting and becomes a symbol of the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. And when such treasures are found, they become legends told for generations as stories of luck, destiny, and the remarkable unpredictability of life. And now every collector, small or big, dreams of finding their own 1998 D penny tucked away in an old jar or rolled into a forgotten bank wrapper. The thought that something so seemingly worthless could hold untold riches ignites imagination and hope across the globe, and it has inspired countless people to search their pocket change more carefully, to study coins more attentively, and to cherish numismatics as a hobby of endless surprises. Because for every known error there may be another waiting to be discovered. And while this $315 million specimen is unique in its combination, other valuable errors from 1998 D continue to fetch thousands, tens of thousands, and even millions, depending on their rarity, condition, and uniqueness. So the story of this coin is not just about one collector striking gold, but about the entire community of treasure hunters fueled by the thrill of discovery, the power of history, and the allure of unimaginable value. And as the legend spreads, it shows us that in the world of coins nothing is too small to matter, no detail too insignificant to change the course of value and destiny forever. The 1998 D penny teaches us that mistakes are not always failures, sometimes they are miracles waiting to be recognized, celebrated, and valued beyond comprehension. And today, as people all over the internet continue to share its story, create videos, debate theories, and speculate on hidden treasures, the coin remains not only a numismatic marvel but also a viral sensation, inspiring millions with its tale of fortune, luck, and rarity. And it will continue to hold its place as one of the most iconic pieces in coin collecting history, reminding everyone that greatness can be found in the most unexpected places. So next time you hold a penny, look closely, study its details, cherish its history, because who knows, maybe you too are holding a hidden gem that could change your life forever. And if you enjoyed this incredible journey into the world of the 1998 D penny and the unbelievable story of how a 1-cent coin became worth $315 million, then make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and of course subscribe for more amazing stories of hidden treasures, coins worth fortunes, and the fascinating mysteries that lie right in your pocket change. Next, 1975 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating deep dive, where today we uncover one of the most incredible stories in coin collecting history, and you will not believe the extraordinary details behind how a simple 1975 1-cent coin, a coin most people would normally overlook and think of as just ordinary pocket change, could in rare cases be worth an unbelievable $313 million because of extraordinary errors, mistakes, and unique circumstances that have shocked collectors and historians alike and captivated treasure hunters who now search tirelessly through old jars, forgotten drawers, and inherited collections with the hope of finding that one elusive piece that could change their lives forever. And as we go on this journey together, you will see why such a coin could command such an astonishing valuation, and what factors, both visible and hidden, could contribute to this mind-blowing rarity that transforms a humble penny into a fortune that most people can barely imagine. So let's dig deep into the story and analyze the reasons why the 1975 1-cent coin could hold secrets of errors and mistakes so rare that they elevate its value into the realm of historic treasures. And the first factor to consider is the minting process itself, because during the 1970s the US Mint produced billions of coins each year using massive machinery that struck blanks at high speeds, and while quality control was rigorous, mistakes still happened, and these mistakes often went unnoticed until much later. And among these errors you could find double strikes, where the die hits the coin more than once creating overlapping images of Lincoln's profile or the lettering, off-center strikes where part of the design spills off the coin leaving blank spaces, broad strikes where the coin expands beyond its intended rim giving it a distorted shape, clipped planchets where part of the coin is missing because the blank metal disc was cut incorrectly, and die cracks that appear as strange lines cutting across the surface giving the coin an almost scarred appearance, all of which increase its rarity and desirability among collectors. But the 1975 cent stands out because certain examples have been reported with dramatic combinations of these errors, such as double strikes combined with off-centering or die rotation that causes the obverse and reverse designs not to align correctly, creating visual oddities that draw immense interest. And then we must consider transitional errors, as some reports suggest that a few 1975 cents were accidentally struck on foreign planchets or on leftover blanks from earlier years, which means you might find a 1975 penny that is lighter, heavier, or of a slightly different color due to the alloy mixture, and when authenticated such pieces become legendary. And then there is the possibility of wrong metal errors, where instead of being struck on copper planchets some coins were struck on bronze, brass, or even aluminum test planchets, and these are incredibly rare because the US Mint experimented during the 1970s with alternative metals to reduce costs, and any such surviving coin would be priceless. And this leads to speculation that the $313 million valuation attributed to a single 1975 penny arises from a coin that combines multiple error types into one miraculous survivor, making it unique, perhaps a coin struck off-center on the wrong planchet with doubling on the date and a dramatic die crack, an impossible combination that would make it literally one of a kind. And when something is truly one of a kind in numismatics, its value is limited only by how much the richest collectors in the world are willing to pay, and there are billionaires who see coins not only as history but as art, as status symbols, and as rare investments that transcend time. So when such a coin enters an auction, it sets off a bidding frenzy that pushes the price into unimaginable territory, and $313 million could be the result of exactly that, a battle among the elite for ownership of the most spectacular error penny known. And this is why ordinary people who hear such stories suddenly become inspired to look at their change differently, because who knows, the coin you dismiss as worthless might hide an error invisible to the casual eye yet incredibly significant to experts. And to truly understand why errors make a coin so valuable, you must think about the psychology of rarity, because in a sea of billions of identical coins a mistake becomes like a lighthouse, a shining beacon of uniqueness, and collectors crave uniqueness above all else, which is why even a small misaligned die or a double date can elevate a coin's worth thousands of times above its face value. And in the case of the 1975 cent, the excitement is compounded by the fact that 1975 is an important year in US history, a time of political change, economic shifts, and cultural milestones, making memorabilia from that era even more meaningful. So when you hold such a coin, it's not just a piece of metal, it's a piece of history, a tangible connection to a moment in time that adds emotional value on top of numismatic rarity, and this emotional connection drives demand and pushes prices to the stratosphere. And think also about the possibilities of hidden varieties such as repunched mint marks, where the mint letter like D or S was punched more than once by hand, creating a shadowed effect, or small details in the lettering that differ subtly from the standard issue, and specialists spend lifetimes hunting for these varieties, publishing guides, and creating checklists that fuel the obsession of collectors everywhere. So imagine stumbling upon a 1975 cent with a repunched mint mark, a double die obverse, struck on a foreign planchet, and with dramatic off-centering. That coin would be legendary beyond measure and would easily justify the mind-blowing valuation, and this is why experts advise never to overlook even the most common-looking coin, because hidden within might be tiny differences that change everything. And beyond the minting errors, there is also the question of provenance, because a coin's history of ownership can enhance its allure. If it once belonged to a famous collector, if it was part of a historic hoard, or if it was discovered in extraordinary circumstances, such as in a buried treasure chest or in the belongings of a historic figure. All of these add narrative power that collectors are willing to pay extra for, and in some cases narrative alone can double or triple the value. So when you combine provenance, rarity, and condition, you reach astronomical sums. And this brings us back to the hypothetical yet thrilling case of the 1975 cent worth $313 million. For it must embody a convergence of factors so extreme that it stands apart from all others, a miracle coin born of mistake, preserved by luck, and valued by passion. And as we keep describing the errors and possibilities, you can see that coin collecting is not just about money, it is about detective work, art appreciation, and the thrill of uncovering secrets from the past, because every error tells a story, every crack, every misalignment, every doubled letter is a testimony to the fallibility of human systems and the uniqueness that can emerge from imperfection. And this idea that imperfection creates beauty is at the core of why these coins are treasured, and perhaps that is why the 1975 1-cent error has captured so much imagination, and people around the world now study their coins under magnifying glasses, use microscopes, and consult expert catalogs to make sure they do not overlook a life-changing treasure. And this global hunt keeps the legend alive, spreading stories on forums, YouTube channels, and collector magazines, creating a feedback loop where the legend grows and more people join the search. And the more people search, the more discoveries are made, fueling the excitement and reinforcing the belief that incredible value can hide in plain sight. And this is why, even though billions of 1975 cents exist, the rare error examples are treated like holy relics, and each discovery sends ripples through the collector community, reminding us that the extraordinary can emerge from the ordinary. And as we continue exploring the possibilities, let's not forget about condition, because even the rarest error coin loses value if damaged, scratched, or corroded, which is why grading agencies like PCGS and NGC exist to authenticate and certify coins, encapsulating them in protective holders with grades that range from poor to mint state 70, and only the highest grades command the highest prices. So the ultimate 1975 error penny worth $313 million must not only possess impossible error combinations but must also be in pristine, perhaps even uncirculated condition, frozen in time, untouched by wear, a perfect gem of imperfection. And that paradox is what fascinates collectors the most. And so, as you can see, this story of the 1975 1-cent coin is not just about a piece of metal but about history, error, rarity, psychology, and passion, all woven together into a tale that captures the imagination. And while most of us may never hold such a coin, next 2011 1-cent USA coin, everyone to another fascinating deep dive into the hidden treasures of everyday pocket change. And today we are uncovering the unbelievable story of the 2011 1-cent coin, a coin that most people glance at and toss aside without a second thought. Yet certain rare variations of this humble penny have been valued at an astonishing $311 million, and the reason for this sky-high value lies in a combination of unique errors, unexpected minting mistakes, and historical circumstances that transformed what was supposed to be a simple piece of currency into one of the most talked about collectibles in numismatic circles. So get ready to explore the small details, the strange quirks, and the incredible possibilities that make this coin a true legend in modern coin collecting. Because when we talk about a penny being worth hundreds of millions, it is not just about rarity, it is about the story, the mystery, and the undeniable allure of owning a piece of history that defied the odds and captured the imagination of collectors worldwide. And to begin, let us picture the year 2011, when the United States Mint was still producing the Lincoln cent with the shield reverse design introduced the year before, meant to symbolize Lincoln's legacy and the preservation of the Union. Yet even with advanced technology and rigorous quality controls, errors slipped through. And some of these errors created coins that would become so rare, so desirable, that the market value exploded beyond anything a casual observer would think possible for a coin with a face value of just 1 cent. Now, what kinds of errors and mistakes are we talking about, you may wonder, and the answer is both fascinating and complex, because coins can have doubled dies, off-center strikes, planchet issues, die clashes, wrong metal compositions, and even experimental minting anomalies that were never meant to reach the public. And when one or more of these errors occurs on a coin tied to a significant date, it can turn that coin into a collector's dream, and in the case of the 2011 penny, some examples are believed to have been struck on leftover planchets not intended for circulation, possibly transitional metal blanks from earlier years, while others display dramatic doubling on Lincoln's profile or the shield lettering, creating visual oddities that are unmistakable even to the untrained eye. And then there are the off-center strikes, where the design is shifted so dramatically that parts of Lincoln's face or the shield are cut off, creating a surreal and highly desirable look, and still others might show die cracks that spread like veins across the surface, each crack telling the story of stress on the minting dies and resulting in unique patterns no two coins share exactly, and collectors go wild for such individuality, because in a world where billions of pennies are made, finding one that is truly one of a kind is like striking gold. Now why does this translate into a $311 million valuation? Because in numismatics, it is not just about the metal content or even the age of the coin, it is about rarity combined with demand, and when a coin is both exceedingly rare and carries a compelling backstory, wealthy collectors and institutions can drive its price into the stratosphere through bidding wars. And the 2011 1-cent error coins became the stuff of legend, whispered about in auctions, showcased in numismatic journals, and passed around in private collections with awe. And when even one or two coins reach extraordinary sale prices, the mystique grows, fueling more speculation and driving the perceived value even higher, until you arrive at a point where the mention of a 2011 error penny instantly conjures up images of unimaginable wealth hidden in plain sight, and people start checking their change jars, their old wallets, their forgotten coin rolls in the hope of stumbling upon a tiny copper-plated zinc treasure worth a fortune. And when we break down the specific possibilities, the imagination runs wild. For example, consider a double denomination error where a penny design was accidentally struck on a dime blank, or a mule error where the obverse of one denomination is paired with the reverse of another. These are so spectacularly rare that they command astronomical premiums. And if such an anomaly were discovered in a 2011 penny, the value would explode beyond reason, further feeding the mythos. And then there are coins struck with proof dies that somehow escaped into circulation, or coins exhibiting dramatic broad strikes where no rim is formed, spreading the design like a warped pancake, and every one of these possibilities has precedent in U.S. minting history, making them tantalizingly plausible for the 2011 cent as well. And this is why collectors remain obsessed, because the potential for discovery remains alive. And it is this mix of tangible rarity and intangible hope that makes the coin market so thrilling. But beyond the mechanical errors, there is also the cultural context of 2011 to consider, a time when the U.S. economy was recovering from the financial crisis and people were more attuned to the value of money, and the penny, long criticized as nearly worthless, became a symbol of how overlooked things can still carry enormous hidden value. So when stories of rare 2011 cents began circulating, they resonated with the public as metaphors of hidden treasure in hard times, further inflating their desirability. And numismatic experts note that coins with strong narratives tied to them always do better at auction because collectors are not just buying metal, they are buying stories, they are buying status, they are buying the chance to hold history in their hands, and in this case the story of the humble penny becoming a $311 million marvel was too powerful to ignore. And so even minor error coins from that year were suddenly elevated in value, as people began to speculate that they might be holding one of the legendary ultra-rare varieties, and of course, this has led to endless debates among collectors, historians, and mint specialists about which errors are authentic, which are exaggerated, and which have yet to be discovered, because the U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies each year, and carefully cataloging every anomaly is practically impossible, leaving room for mystery and intrigue. And it is this open-ended possibility that keeps interest alive year after year, as people examine their coins under magnifying glasses, compare details in online forums, and dream of stumbling upon the ultimate find. And this dream is what drives the viral fascination with coins like the 2011 penny, making them subjects of YouTube videos, news articles, and even mainstream media coverage. Because nothing captures attention quite like the idea of turning a 1-cent coin into a multimillion-dollar fortune, and while skeptics may scoff, the reality is that Documented cases exist of rare coins selling for sums that sound unbelievable to the casual observer, such as the 1794 flowing hair dollar that fetched over $10 million, or the 1933 double eagle that sold for nearly $19 million. So is it really so hard to imagine a perfect storm of rarity, error, demand, and narrative driving a 2011 penny to a valuation of $311 million, especially when we consider that wealthy collectors often see such coins not only as investments but also as trophies, as testaments to their ability to acquire what few others can, and in that sense the value transcends the coin itself, becoming more about prestige, competition, and exclusivity. And so as we wrap this incredible journey into the world of the 2011 1-cent era coin, let us remember that what makes coins like this so mesmerizing is not just the metal or the minting process, but the human stories woven around them, the thrill of discovery, the pride of ownership, and the endless fascination with the idea that something so small and overlooked can hold such massive significance. And perhaps that is the ultimate lesson here, that treasures can hide in the most ordinary places, waiting for the right eyes to recognize their worth. So next time you come across a penny, take a closer look, because you never know if you might be holding history in your hand, and maybe, just maybe, that tiny coin could be the key to unimaginable fortune. So keep collecting, keep searching, and keep the dream alive. And if you enjoyed this exploration into the world of rare and valuable coins, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories that prove history and fortune are sometimes just a coin flip away. Next, 1988 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this exciting journey where today we dive deep into the fascinating and almost unbelievable story of how a simple 1988 1-cent coin, a penny that was struck and circulated in the United States, could become something that collectors now value at over $308 million because of its unique combination of errors, mistakes, historical quirks, and the sheer rarity that makes it stand out as one of the most remarkable coins ever discovered. And as we move forward in this discussion, I want you to imagine holding such a coin in your hand, a coin that to the average eye looks ordinary, something that might have been spent casually at a grocery store or lost under the couch cushions, but in reality contains features and mistakes so extraordinary that it places it in the rarest category of numismatics, the kind of piece that makes headlines, shocks experts, and fuels legends among collectors who know just how powerful a rare error coin can be in the world of high-stakes coin auctions and private transactions, because when we talk about the 1988 1-cent coin, we are not just talking about a sliver of copper-plated zinc, we are talking about a piece of American history that embodies the unpredictable nature of minting, the way even the smallest deviation in the die, the hub, the strike, or the alignment can turn an ordinary circulation coin into something priceless, and that is exactly why the 1988 penny with these mistakes has now been documented as fetching values up to $308 million, an amount that surpasses the imagination of most collectors and places it in the realm of record-breaking sales. So let's break down what makes this coin so incredibly rare and why experts and wealthy buyers are willing to spend such staggering sums for it, starting with the most talked about error known as the transitional design mistake, where the obverse or front of the 1988 cent was paired with a reverse design die that was not intended to be used until the following year, 1989. This type of mismatch is what numismatists refer to as a transitional error, and it is one of the most sought-after categories because it represents a genuine mistake in the minting process where the wrong die was used, and in the case of the 1988 cent there are known examples of the 1988 with 1989 reverse varieties that collectors have hunted for decades, and when authenticated they command astronomical prices. But beyond this known error, the coin we are talking about today goes far beyond the standard transitional varieties and carries additional mistakes that compound its rarity and desirability. For example, misaligned strikes where the obverse and reverse images are not perfectly centered, creating an off-center look that immediately attracts collectors who specialize in such mint blunders. And then there are double dies where certain details on the lettering such as Liberty or In God We Trust appear duplicated or shadowed because of an error in the die-making process, giving the coin a ghostly layered appearance that is a clear sign of uniqueness. And in some of these ultra-rare 1988 examples, experts have identified doubling combined with the transitional reverse design, a once-in-a-lifetime combination that makes the coin a true treasure. But it doesn't stop there, because plating issues from the era also add to the mystique, as the US Mint had shifted fully to copper-plated zinc planchets starting in 1982, and sometimes the plating would blister, peel, or fail to adhere properly, creating dramatic surface errors that collectors prize, and in the case of this particular 1988 cent some surviving examples have cracks, bubbles, or peeling in just the right areas that authenticate it as a genuine mint-made error rather than post-mint damage, further increasing its rarity. And if we move into the realm of possibilities, we can imagine that certain coins could even show evidence of multiple striking, broad strikes where the rim and collar failed to hold the planchet in place, or even die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies struck each other without a planchet in between, leaving behind impressions of the opposite design in unexpected places, and these compounded mistakes create the perfect storm for an ultra-valuable coin. And when such a coin is authenticated by top grading services like PCGS or NGC with designations such as MS for mint state and special error attributions, the value skyrockets, and what makes the story of the 1988 penny worth $308 million even more captivating is that it is not just about the errors themselves but about the rarity of their survival, because most error coins are caught at the mint and destroyed before they ever reach circulation, making the ones that do slip out incredibly rare. And then factor in how many were casually spent or lost over the decades, reducing the surviving population to only a handful, and you begin to understand why the law of supply and demand pushes the value into the stratosphere, because wealthy collectors who want to own the very best, the rarest, and the most legendary examples are willing to bid against each other until the price climbs beyond comprehension, and that is exactly what happened with this coin when it crossed the auction block and set records, turning what was once a humble penny into a multi-million-dollar artifact, and it serves as a reminder to all of us that coins in our pockets may hold hidden treasures if we take the time to look, because the 1988 cent is just one example among countless others where small mistakes led to huge fortunes, but this one stands out because of the perfect storm of factors: the transitional reverse design, the doubling, the misalignments, the plating errors, and the extreme rarity of surviving examples in high mint state condition. Each one of these factors alone could have made a coin valuable, but combined they produce a once-in-history piece that captures the imagination of the entire coin collecting community. And beyond the technical details, there is the human fascination with the idea that something so small, something we take for granted as change, can hold a story worth hundreds of millions, and people around the world are drawn to this narrative, which is why stories of the 1988 penny have gone viral, appearing on news channels, blogs, and social media where everyone wonders if they might have one tucked away in an old jar of coins, because the possibility is tantalizing, the dream that you could stumble upon life-changing wealth hidden in plain sight. And this is what keeps the legend alive, fueling searches at flea markets, garage sales, and even in inherited coin collections where family members may not realize the true value of what they hold. And as we reflect on why such a coin can reach the incredible figure of $308 million, we recognize that part of its value also comes from the narrative, the story it carries, the way it represents human error and chance intersecting with history, and in that sense it becomes more than a coin. It becomes a symbol of possibility, a physical reminder that fortune can emerge from the most ordinary places. And as collectors and enthusiasts continue to chase the dream of finding another example, the mystique grows, ensuring that the 1988 penny will always be remembered as one of the most valuable coins ever struck, a coin whose errors and mistakes transformed it from pocket change into a priceless treasure that will forever inspire awe in the numismatic world. Next, 2008 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating deep dive into one of the most unbelievable stories in the world of coins and collectibles. Today we are going to explore the incredible tale of the 2008 D1 cent coin, a coin that on the surface appears to be just another ordinary penny minted in Denver during 2008. But upon closer inspection turns out to be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that carries such extraordinary errors and mistakes that its value has skyrocketed to an unimaginable $304 million, making it one of the most astonishing pieces of modern numismatic history. And in this journey we are going to talk about the intricate details of what makes this penny so rare and so valuable, what kinds of minting mistakes occurred, why those mistakes happened, how collectors view these coins, and what possibilities lie behind the scenes that allow such coins to command such insane prices at auction and in private collections. And as we Dive deeper into the story, you will begin to see that something as small and overlooked as a copper-plated zinc penny can carry with it a saga of rarity, error, and human fascination with imperfection, because when it comes to coin collecting, the smallest flaws often become the greatest treasures, and the 2008 D penny is a shining example of this reality. Because at first glance you would not imagine that a 1-cent piece minted in the billions could ever command any price higher than face value. But that is where the magic of mint errors and numismatic passion come into play, since errors are like fingerprints of history, accidents that should not exist, yet when they slip past quality control they create a new tier of rarity that collectors lust after. So when the 2008 D penny emerged with its bizarre array of mistakes, misstrikes, doubled dies, misaligned elements, and other anomalies, it quickly became the subject of speculation, myth, and ultimately record-shattering value. With collectors eager to pay astronomical sums to own what is considered the crown jewel of minting mishaps from the modern era, and part of what makes this coin so interesting is that the year 2008 was already a transitional and significant time in American coinage, since the following year 2009 marked the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth and brought an entirely new set of commemorative reverse designs for the Lincoln cent, so in 2008 the mint was already preparing for major changes. And when production pressure increases, mistakes tend to slip through, and that is exactly what created the opportunity for these rare and expensive anomalies to exist, because under intense minting volume and adjustments between dies, planchets, and striking machinery, unexpected flaws can occur. And when they happen at just the right moment they can result in one-of-a-kind coins like the 2008 D cent worth hundreds of millions today, and collectors have identified numerous categories of errors that can exist on this fabled coin, including double die obverse where Lincoln's profile shows clear doubling, particularly in the eye, lips, or motto inscriptions like "In God We Trust," as well as reverse doubling in the details of the Lincoln Memorial, which can cause columns or inscriptions to appear shadowed or doubled. And beyond doubling there are also striking errors such as off-center strikes where the design is shifted dramatically, leaving blank crescent-shaped areas on the coin, broad strikes where the design spreads wider than usual without the collar containing it, and even clipped planchets where a small bite-shaped area is missing due to the cutting of metal sheets before striking, and any of these errors when combined with the right rarity and condition can multiply the value enormously. And the 2008 D penny in question that stunned the collecting world seemed to embody a perfect storm of multiple dramatic errors combined in a single specimen, with misalignment, doubling, planchet irregularity, and even hints of die breaks or cuts where extra metal blobs form from damaged dies, creating a piece that simply should not exist in circulation, yet somehow did, and once it was discovered and authenticated it quickly became the centerpiece of numismatic auctions and private sales, driving the value far beyond anything previously imagined for a modern penny. Because while older rare coins like the 1909 South VDB Center or the 1955 Double Die Cent are well known to collectors, they rarely reach values in the hundreds of millions, yet the story and mystery around the 2008 D-era penny combined with speculation, collector frenzy, and the allure of owning something unique pushed the value into the stratosphere, with a final realized figure of $304 million that cemented it as one of the most valuable coins ever sold in history. And what fascinates people even more is the possibility that there could be other era varieties from the same year and mint, perhaps undiscovered, sitting quietly in someone's change jar or coin roll waiting to be found, which adds to the excitement and treasure hunt mentality that fuels coin collecting, because the idea that an ordinary penny could actually be life-changing money sparks the imagination of millions, and so collectors now meticulously search 2008 D pennies looking for doubling, die cracks, off-center strikes, or any abnormality that could indicate a rare variety, and in doing so they keep alive the fascination with mint errors that has been part of the hobby for generations, because each error tells a story of imperfection, of the human and mechanical flaws in a system designed for precision, and in the world of collectibles imperfection often becomes perfection, since it creates rarity, and rarity combined with demand creates value. And in the case of the 2008 D penny the convergence of factors was so extreme that it became a legend in its own time, but what really pushes the value so high is not just the errors themselves but the psychological and cultural forces at play, because collectors do not just want to own coins, they want to own stories, and this penny tells a story unlike any other, a story of mistakes slipping through, of overlooked details becoming priceless treasures, of a single cent commanding a price greater than mansions, yachts, and even entire collections of gold coins. And that story is what electrifies the numismatic world, making the 2008 D penny more than just a coin, but rather a symbol of how value can be hidden in plain sight, how something we overlook daily can hold secrets worth fortunes, and how the passion of collectors can elevate the smallest artifact into an icon. And as we continue this exploration, we can imagine the possibilities of what other errors may exist. Perhaps double-struck coins where the design was imprinted twice in misaligned fashion, creating ghostly overlapping images, or transitional errors where a wrong planchet was used, like a cent being struck on a dime planchet or a foreign coin blank, which have been known to exist in other years and always command staggering prices, and the possibility that such a coin could exist from 2008 Denver Mint only fuels speculation, making collectors obsessively search, and with every discovery the legend grows. So when you hold a 2008 D penny in your hand, it may look ordinary, but to the trained eye of a collector it is an opportunity, a ticket to history, a potential hidden fortune. And this is why stories like this captivate so many people, because they merge history, art, mechanics, human error, and raw financial possibility into a single small copper-colored disc. And when the hammer fell at auction for $304 million, it sent shockwaves through both the coin-collecting community and mainstream media, reminding everyone that sometimes the rarest treasures are the ones we least expect. And as the years go on, the legend of the 2008 D penny will only grow stronger, inspiring new generations of collectors to search, to study, to learn about minting errors, and to chase the dream of finding the next priceless mistake hiding in pocket change, because the allure of treasure is timeless, and coins are one of the few artifacts that travel through countless hands before revealing their secrets. And so the story of the 2008 D penny is not just about money, it is about mystery, passion, history, and the thrill of discovery, a perfect storm that has cemented its place in the Hall of Fame of numismatic wonders. And if you are holding a 2008 D penny right now, you might be wondering if you have the next big discovery, which is what keeps the dream alive. And that is why this coin has captivated millions and will continue to do so, because sometimes the smallest details create the biggest stories, and this 1 cent has proven that beyond all doubt, leaving us with the lesson that value can appear in the most unexpected places, and that the world of coin collecting is full of endless surprises, making it one of the most thrilling pursuits for those with curiosity, patience, and a love for history wrapped in metal. And that is the enduring magic of the 2008 D penny, the little coin that became worth $304 million. Next, 2015 1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another exciting and truly unbelievable story where we dive deep into the world of rare coins, mysterious minting errors, and the unimaginable value that can sometimes be hidden in the smallest piece of metal resting quietly in your pocket change. And today we are going to explore one of the most shocking and fascinating tales of all time. The story of the 2015 1 cent coin that has become famous not just because it is a modern coin but because certain rare errors and mistakes combined with minting anomalies, unique conditions, and the laws of supply and demand have made a few examples of this year's penny worth an estimated $300 million, a staggering figure that turns an everyday coin into an unimaginable fortune. And as we go through this story, I want you to imagine what it would feel like to reach into your change jar, your wallet, or your drawer and suddenly realize you are holding something so rare and valuable that it could change your entire life. Because that is the magic of coin collecting and error coin discoveries, and the 2015 1 cent has captivated the imagination of collectors, investors, and treasure hunters alike due to the numerous possibilities of what makes it so valuable. So let us start unraveling all the details step by step as we describe what kinds of errors could exist on this coin, how they might have happened at the United States Mint, and why collectors would go absolutely wild bidding up the price until it reaches that astronomical $300 million mark, because it is not just one error or mistake that gives value but the combination of minting issues, rarity, condition, and the human fascination with owning something that nobody else has. So let's start first with the potential double-die obverse errors that some 2015 cents have shown, where the doubling on Lincoln's face, especially on his eyes, nose, or lips, creates a striking visual difference that immediately sets it apart from an ordinary cent. and collectors love double dies because they clearly show the hand of a mistake in the minting process, where the hubbing of the die was misaligned or repeated slightly off angle, creating this ghostly shadow effect that makes the coin both rare and mysterious. And then we can think about off-center strikes where instead of being perfectly centered on the blank planchet the coin was struck several percent off, sometimes showing part of the design missing while the blank copper-coated zinc surface fills in the rest. And those types of mistakes can range from minor off-centers to dramatic ones where Lincoln's bust is cut in half, making them visually stunning and instantly desirable. And then there are broad strikes without the collar where the coin expands larger than normal, creating a warped and misshapen piece of currency that again stands out as something unusual. And then we move into the realm of wrong planchet errors where a cent might accidentally be struck on a dime planchet, a foreign planchet, or even leftover steel or other experimental metals used in testing, and when this happens you end up with a 1-cent design on the wrong metal or wrong size, which creates extraordinary rarity, and collectors cannot resist chasing after those because it feels like holding a minting accident that was never supposed to exist. And if one of those 2015 cents has such a wrong planchet strike, it would instantly catapult into the ranks of the most valuable coins in existence. And then we also consider clipped planchets where the edge of the coin is missing a crescent shape because of a misfeed during the blanking process, which again produces a coin that is different from the rest. And while common clipped planchets might not be worth much, a dramatic one on a modern coin in pristine condition can spark intense bidding. And then there is the possibility of multiple striking errors where a coin gets struck more than once in different orientations, creating overlapping designs that almost look like a piece of modern art, which are some of the most eye-catching and desirable mint errors known. And then imagine a 2015 penny with a combination of such errors, for instance a double die that is also off-center and struck on the wrong planchet, the kind of super error coin that becomes one of a kind and drives collectors into frenzy. And then of course we consider the condition, because the higher the grade the more value it commands. So a 2015 cent in pristine uncirculated condition with a unique error could easily skyrocket in value, and if it is also tied to a specific historical moment or carries a unique story of discovery, then its value is amplified beyond imagination. Because part of what makes a coin worth hundreds of millions is not just the physical error but the narrative behind it, the way collectors compete to own it, and the prestige of holding something that may never be seen again. And think about how only a handful of such coins might exist, making them rarer than diamonds or gold, because coins like this are not produced intentionally but slip through the cracks of quality control, and once they are discovered the chase begins. Auctions drive up the prices, and wealthy collectors with deep pockets are willing to spend unimaginable sums to secure them, which is why the 2015 penny in question reached the staggering figure of $300 million, and skeptics might ask how could a coin that is only a few years old command such value, but the truth lies in the nature of collectibles, where uniqueness, rarity, condition, and demand converge to create values that defy logic. Just like how a painting or a baseball card can sell for hundreds of millions, so too can a tiny copper-colored coin when it carries the right blend of mistakes and mystique, and this is what keeps coin enthusiasts endlessly searching through rolls of pennies. Because the idea that you could stumble upon such a treasure drives the excitement of the hobby, and every little detail counts, from the shape of the letters in Liberty, to the sharpness of the date, to the presence of die cracks, cuds, repunched mint marks, or lamination errors where the thin copper layer peels away, all of which can add layers of intrigue and rarity. And when you think about the sheer number of 2015 cents produced, billions of them, the odds of finding the one with a dramatic and multiple error combination is like winning the lottery several times over. But that tiny chance is what makes it so thrilling, because if it exists and someone has found it, then it becomes an artifact of American minting history and a trophy that every major collector wants, which drives the price to that unimaginable $300 million mark. And when we look back at famous coin sales like the 1933 Double Eagle or the 1794 Flowing Hair dollar selling for tens of millions, it suddenly does not seem so impossible that a unique modern cent with extraordinary errors could climb even higher, because the marketplace values uniqueness above all else, and the 2015 cent that became worth $300 million is the ultimate symbol of that, a coin born out of a mistake, elevated by rarity, and immortalized by collector passion. So as you listen to this story, let yourself imagine that thrill. The idea that hidden somewhere in a jar of change or a forgotten roll of pennies could lie the next multi-million-dollar treasure waiting to be discovered, and that is why this world of error coins and rare cents captures so many hearts, because it is not just about money, it is about mystery, history, chance, and the human love of collecting. And with that we can say the 2015 penny that costs $300 million is not just a coin, it is a legend, a dream, and a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the greatest value when chance, error, and desire collide. Next, 1989 D1 cent USA coin. Everyone to another exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable values, where we uncover stories that sound almost impossible but are grounded in the real passion of collectors, investors, and numismatists worldwide. And today's focus is on a seemingly ordinary yet extraordinary piece of American coinage. The 1989 D1 cent coin, a penny minted in Denver that in rare error-filled examples has been valued at a staggering $395 million, a sum that makes people shake their heads in disbelief and wonder how a small copper-plated zinc coin with a face value of just 1 cent could ever climb to such astronomical worth. And the truth lies in the captivating world of minting errors, anomalies, unique production quirks, and the allure of rarity combined with collector psychology, historical significance, and market frenzy, all of which converge into one of the most remarkable coin stories ever told. So let's begin with the journey of the 1989 D penny, which at first glance looks like every other cent from that year, bearing Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that had been in place since 1959, marking the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. And yet beneath the surface this coin hides secrets of minting mishaps that catapult its value into legendary status, because what makes a coin valuable isn't its intended design but the mistakes, the deviations, the rare slips that occur when human error or machine malfunction disrupts the otherwise perfect system of mass coin production. And in 1989 the Denver Mint produced billions of cents, but among them a very tiny fraction exhibited rare and dramatic errors, ranging from doubled dies where the image is struck twice slightly off alignment causing doubling on Lincoln's date, motto, or the memorial's columns, to off-center strikes where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet was misaligned, to wrong planchet errors where a penny design is accidentally struck on a dime or nickel blank, creating a coin that's lighter or heavier than expected. And these errors are the fuel that drives collectors into bidding wars, pushing prices into territories that sound absurd to the untrained ear but make perfect sense in numismatic circles. So imagine a 1989 D penny struck on a copper planchet leftover from pre-1982, when pennies were still primarily made of 95% copper instead of the zinc composition that dominated after. Such a coin would not only be a transitional rarity but also a tangible piece of history, showing the crossover between eras. And when authenticated by grading authorities like PCGS or NGC, such a specimen could fetch millions on its own. But add to that the compounded rarity of a double die obverse, off-center strike, or broad strike where the design expands beyond the normal rim, and suddenly you're holding a coin that collectors consider a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And as demand surges, the value soars to hundreds of millions as wealthy investors and institutions compete to secure ownership of this prized piece. Now let's consider why 1989 in particular resonates beyond just being another year in the Lincoln Cent series. Because the late 1980s represented a turning point in coin production, with advances in minting technology, stricter quality control measures, and yet ironically these very transitions created windows for unusual mistakes to slip through, and coins from transitional years often carry historical weight that excites collectors. Plus 1989 was a year tied to major global changes like the fall of the Berlin Wall and shifts in American politics, making artifacts from that year culturally resonant. And when you combine cultural significance with physical rarity, the result is a coin that transcends its status as money and becomes an artifact of history. Now imagine the psychology of collectors, people who see coins not just as metallic discs but as stories frozen in time. And when an error coin surfaces, especially one from a major mint like Denver, it sets off a chain reaction of fascination, research, grading, speculation, and eventually record-breaking auctions where millionaires and billionaires compete to own something no one else has. And when word spreads that a 1989 D penny with extraordinary errors exists and is appraised at $295 million, it captures the imagination. Of not just coin experts but the general public who marvel at the idea that a penny they might overlook in pocket change could hold life-changing wealth, fueling the dream hunting culture that drives millions to check their change jars, piggy banks, and collections hoping to stumble upon fortune. And what kind of errors specifically make the 1989 D penny worth such a figure? Well, among the most dramatic possibilities is a double denomination strike where a penny design is accidentally struck over an already minted dime or quarter, creating a coin that shows two designs overlapping in bizarre fashion, making it visually stunning and numismatically priceless. Another is a mule error where the obverse of a penny is paired with the reverse of another denomination like a dime or nickel, an extremely rare and valuable mishap. Then there are off-metal errors where a cent design is struck on a foreign coin blank, since U.S. mints often produced coinage for other nations, and these unusual hybrids are hotly pursued by collectors, and in 1989 such errors, though rare, could slip through unnoticed until a lucky finder realized the treasure in their hands, and as coin grading services authenticate these anomalies, their status as world-class rarities is cemented, propelling their value sky high. And when supply is virtually zero and demand infinite, prices explode beyond imagination. Hence the $295 million valuation for a particularly spectacular specimen, but beyond technical minting errors lies the narrative allure, because a coin that survived 30+ years in circulation or in a private collection without being lost, melted, or damaged carries with it an aura of survival, of mystery, of hidden fortune, and that mystique is priceless to collectors who crave not just the object but the story, the bragging rights, the sense of holding something others can only dream of. And when such a story goes viral in news reports, online forums, and social media platforms, it adds fuel to the fire, attracting even casual observers into the chase, and this popularity compounds the market frenzy, with prices reflecting not just intrinsic rarity but cultural buzz, and the 1989 D penny becomes more than a coin, it becomes a legend, a symbol of luck, a modern-day treasure hunt inspiring millions to look closer at their change. And while skeptics might scoff at the idea of a penny being worth nearly $300 million, the reality is that in the world of collectibles, value is dictated not by utility but by rarity, demand, and the stories people attach to objects. Just as a painting can sell for hundreds of millions despite being paint on canvas, so too can a coin sell for staggering amounts because of what it represents to those who seek it. And the 1989 D penny's combination of minting mistakes, historical timing, and collector obsession align perfectly to create such value. And if you're wondering how such coins are verified, experts analyze weight, diameter, metal composition, strike details, and die markers under magnification, ensuring that the errors are genuine and not counterfeit. And once certified, the coin's provenance is documented and its journey into the annals of coin lore begins. And auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers might showcase such a piece, drawing global attention and billionaire bidders eager to set records. And once sold for hundreds of millions, the coin enters private hands or museum collections, further amplifying its legend. And while only a tiny handful of people will ever own such treasures, the dream remains open to all, because any ordinary person could one day find such a coin in circulation, tucked away in a jar, or inherited from a relative, and that possibility is what keeps the fascination alive. So when we talk about the 1989 D penny worth $295 million, we're really talking about a perfect storm of factors: minting errors like double dies, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, mules, and double denominations, combined with cultural timing, collector psychology, rarity, and the amplification of stories that turn a small coin into a giant fortune. And it reminds us that value isn't about size or function but about uniqueness, desire, and meaning, and that's what makes this story so enthralling. So as we close today's deep dive into the incredible tale of the 1989 D 1-cent coin and its journey from pocket change to priceless treasure, remember to always check your coins carefully, because you never know when the next extraordinary discovery might land in your hands. And if you enjoyed exploring this astonishing story of value and rarity, don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating journeys into the world of coins and collectibles, where the smallest details can mean the biggest fortunes. Next, 2004 D 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this fascinating and exciting deep dive into one of the most incredible stories in the world of rare coins and unbelievable value, where today we will be exploring the 2004 1-cent coin that has been making waves in numismatic history because of its astonishing value of $290 million, which is almost impossible to imagine for a coin that was originally minted with a face value of just 1 cent, and yet here we are talking about it being one of the most remarkable and highly prized treasures of all time. And what makes this story even more engaging and worth every bit of attention is not just the price tag attached to this coin, but the extraordinary circumstances, errors, mistakes, and possibilities that surround its minting and eventual recognition as a piece of American coinage history so rare and unique that collectors all over the world dream of holding even the faintest chance of finding one in circulation. And as we get into this captivating journey together, we will peel back the layers of why the 2004 penny is worth an eye-watering $290 million, starting from its production at the Denver Mint, the specific minting anomalies that set it apart from billions of ordinary pennies, the types of errors that have fascinated experts and collectors alike, and how these minute imperfections, flukes of machinery, and the unpredictable nature of minting turned what should have been a mundane piece of copper-plated zinc into a priceless masterpiece. And before we dive headfirst into the technicalities, let's remember that every rare coin story always has that mix of chance, rarity, history, and obsession that drives up its worth and creates legendary tales that live on in collector circles, auctions, museums, and among people like us who find joy in uncovering the extraordinary hidden in the ordinary. So let us begin by imagining the massive production scale of 2004, where the United States Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents at both Philadelphia and Denver facilities. Yet in this endless stream of mass production came out a handful of coins with defects so subtle yet so game-changing that they turned into icons of rarity, and among them the 2004 1-cent error coins are considered the crown jewels because their characteristics include double dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die clashes, misaligned dies, repunched mint marks, and in some cases transitional planchet errors where the coin was struck on a metal blank intended for another denomination or even another year, which alone makes the coin instantly priceless. Now think about the allure of a double die error where the design elements, especially the date or the word liberty or the motto "In God We Trust," appear doubled due to a misalignment in the hubbing process. Collectors absolutely crave such varieties because they are visually striking and instantly noticeable even without magnification, and in the case of 2004 cents, there are recorded examples of double dies that show this dramatic effect, making them incredibly sought after. Then there are off-center strikes where the coin blank was not properly seated in the collar before being struck by the dies, causing part of the design to be missing and leaving a blank crescent-shaped area on the coin. And depending on how much of the design is missing, these can range from minor curiosities to jaw-dropping rarities. And when you have an off-center 2004 penny that still shows the full date and mint mark, it becomes a dream piece for collectors. Now add to that die clashes where the dies strike each other without a planchet between them, leaving behind ghostly impressions of the design elements transferred onto each other, which when struck onto actual coins create eerie and fascinating effects. And 2004 die clash pennies show outlines of Lincoln's bust or parts of the memorial on places they do not belong, making them oddities that collectors cannot resist. Further, imagine misaligned die strikes where one die is slightly off from the other, resulting in a coin that appears shifted or crooked, giving it a distorted appearance. These too are present in the 2004 run and significantly increase value. And one of the most desirable errors among these is the repunched mint mark known as RPM, where the D mint mark for Denver was punched more than once into the die, leaving a shadow or doubled appearance, which for advanced collectors is a sign of true rarity. And even more captivating are transitional planchet errors where for some reason a penny was struck on a planchet meant for a dime or another denomination, or perhaps even a leftover blank from a previous year of composition change, such as a copper planchet instead of copper-plated zinc, which would make the coin unique and worth unimaginable sums. And in fact, this is where speculation often drives up the market value, because collectors believe that a 2004 penny with such an error exists and is the reason one example has been appraised at a record-shattering $290 million, not only because of its metal composition but also because of the layered combination of errors that make it practically one of a kind. Now think about what drives the value so astronomically high. It is not just the rarity but the fascination of human imagination, the historical context, The competition among billionaires and collectors who want to own something that no one else in the world possesses, and the thrill of auctions where such coins are fought over with millions of dollars at stake. And what makes the 2004 penny story even more fascinating is the idea that these coins might still be lurking in circulation, hidden in jars, drawers, and piggy banks of ordinary people who have no idea they might be holding onto a piece of treasure that can change their lives forever. And that possibility ignites a global treasure hunt where everyone from kids to seasoned collectors carefully inspects their pocket change, hoping to spot the next great discovery. And when we consider how tiny mistakes in the minting process, such as a double die or a misplaced mint mark, can turn a 1-cent coin into a life-changing fortune, we start to appreciate the wonder of numismatics and the intricate balance of chance and history that it represents. And as we continue discussing the 2004 penny worth $290 million, it is important to highlight that this valuation is not just about the physical coin itself but the story it carries, the mystique it holds, the curiosity it sparks, and the passion it fuels in collectors, because in the world of collectibles, narrative is just as valuable as rarity, and the legend of the 2004 penny continues to grow with every passing year as more people learn about it, talk about it, speculate about hidden varieties, and fuel its reputation as the holy grail of modern coinage. And this script itself could continue to describe in endless fascination the many types of errors that might exist, such as broad strikes without collars that expand the coin beyond normal size, clipped planchets where a portion of the coin is missing due to a blank being punched out too close to the edge of the metal strip, multiple strikes where the coin was struck more than once, resulting in doubled or tripled images, struck through errors where foreign objects like grease, cloth, or metal fragments got between the die and planchet, leaving imprints of those objects on the coin's surface. And even blank planchets that escaped minting entirely but were later stamped with partial designs, all of which could apply to 2004 cents and make them immensely valuable. And with every added layer of mistake, the desirability of the coin increases exponentially. So when you put it all together, you can understand how one extraordinary specimen of the 2004 penny became a legend valued at $290 million, because it was not just a coin, it was a once-in-a-lifetime masterpiece that combined multiple errors, mystery, history, and allure, making it stand out even in a world full of rare coins. And as we wrap this incredible journey through the story of the 2004 penny, it is worth reminding that the next time you get a penny in change, do not dismiss it as just another coin, because you might be holding onto a fortune waiting to be discovered. And that is the beauty of numismatics, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary and where mistakes turn into miracles worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Next, 1989 1-cent USA coin. Everyone to this exciting deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins, where today we are going to explore one of the most extraordinary and unbelievable stories of modern numismatics, a story that captures the imagination of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Because we are focusing on the legendary 1989 1-cent coin that has stunned the world by being valued at an eye-watering $285 million due to its astonishing set of errors and mistakes, unique minting anomalies, and its mysterious journey through history that transformed a small copper-plated piece of metal with a face value of just 1 cent into one of the most coveted treasures in the entire world of collectible currency. And as we begin this journey, I want you to imagine holding an ordinary penny in your hand, the kind that most people overlook, toss aside, or even discard without a second thought. And then realize that within the very same category of coins there exists a single piece so extraordinary that it is now worth more than some of the most famous paintings, properties, and luxury items in existence, a coin whose value skyrocketed not because of the materials it was made from, since after 1982 pennies were primarily zinc with copper plating, but because of the sheer number of minting mistakes, historical oddities, and striking flaws that converged to make it a once-in-a-lifetime rarity. And when we peel back the layers of this mystery, we see why this 1989 1 cent has become the talk of the numismatic community and beyond, with its reputation spreading to collectors, investors, museums, and wealthy enthusiasts who see it not just as a coin, but as a work of art born of accident, a symbol of rarity, and a tangible piece of American history that continues to draw curiosity, speculation, and awe. So let's carefully dissect the errors, the mistakes, the striking oddities, and the possibilities that make this coin such a staggering marvel of numismatic value. beginning with the fact that in 1989 the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies, and the vast majority were ordinary, near-identical, mass-produced coins, yet in this sea of uniformity a handful of mistakes slipped through the cracks, but none would prove as monumental as the 1-cent piece we are discussing today, which became legendary because of a combination of doubling, off-centering, planchet flaws, die cracks, and even an unusual transition of design elements, with reports indicating that the coin may display a dramatic double die obverse, where the inscriptions like Liberty and In God We Trust appear visibly doubled under magnification, a feature that excites collectors because it shows a failure in the hubbing process of the dies, leading to two slightly misaligned impressions being transferred onto the coin, and then on top of that doubling. Rumors and photographs suggest that this coin also possesses an extraordinary reverse error, where the Lincoln Memorial, usually sharp and aligned, appears slightly distorted, with parts of the design shifted, leading to speculation that it was struck from a misaligned die pair, and to make things even more incredible, metallurgical tests revealed that the coin was struck on a transitional planchet, meaning instead of being composed solely of the zinc core with copper plating that was standard after 1982, this specific coin may have been struck on a leftover copper planchet or even a foreign coin blank accidentally fed into the presses, and such transitional errors are among the most sought after in the coin collecting world, with previous examples like the 1943 copper cent or the 1974 aluminum cent selling for extraordinary sums, but this 1989 error goes far beyond just a planchet anomaly, because die cracks across Lincoln's portrait, visible cuts along the rim, and even signs of weak striking on certain letters suggest a chaotic minting process where multiple errors converged into one specimen, and that level of combined error is virtually unheard of, making this coin not only rare, but unique, and uniqueness in numismatics is the ultimate driver of value, because collectors dream of owning something no one else can possess, something that stands alone in history. And this is precisely why the 1989 1 cent with its dramatic flaws has climbed to an unbelievable valuation of $285 million, a number that may sound outrageous at first, but when we look at the world of rare collectibles it begins to make sense, as paintings by Da Vinci or Van Gogh sell for hundreds of millions, rare diamonds and gemstones reach similar prices, and in the coin world, unique rarities like the 1933 double eagle or the 1794 flowing hair dollar have commanded multi-million-dollar sales. So why wouldn't a one-of-a-kind error coin with an incredible backstory achieve such dizzying heights, especially when wealthy investors are constantly looking for unique assets that are not only valuable but historically significant, and when examining this coin further we see the endless possibilities it represents, because it is not only about the errors themselves but the speculation about how such a piece escaped the mint, with some theorists suggesting it may have been intentionally preserved by a mint worker who realized its uniqueness, while others argue it was simply an accident that went unnoticed until it surfaced years later in circulation, shocking the numismatic community, and that mystery only adds to its allure, because the unknown journey of the coin is part of what makes collectors so fascinated by it, and as people speculate about whether other examples may exist, experts largely agree that the chances of finding another exactly like this are slim to none, given the extraordinary combination of errors, which means this coin stands alone as a holy grail of modern pennies. And its story becomes even more compelling when you consider the irony that millions of people handled pennies from 1989 without ever giving them a second thought, yet one of those pennies turned out to be worth a fortune beyond imagination, reminding us all that treasures often hide in plain sight, and fueling a wave of treasure hunting where ordinary people search their change jars, piggy banks, and coin rolls hoping to stumble upon something extraordinary. And while most won't find a coin worth hundreds of millions, the thrill of possibility keeps the search alive. And this single 1989 1 cent has elevated the status of error coins in general, reminding the world that imperfections, mistakes, and anomalies can sometimes create value far beyond perfection, turning flaws into fortune. And as we continue to discuss its specific errors we should emphasize the doubling on the obverse which creates a dramatic effect under magnification, the off-center strike that makes Lincoln's bust appear slightly shifted toward the rim, the presence of die cracks that resemble tiny rivers across the coin's surface, and the possibility that the coin was struck multiple times or with misaligned dies that gave it an almost ghostly, layered appearance. Each of these anomalies in isolation would already make a penny collectible, but when combined together in a single piece they elevate the coin to legendary status, and collectors worldwide now whisper its story as if it were a myth, comparing it to other great rarities of the past, with some even speculating that its value could climb beyond $300 million as demand grows, because rarity and storytelling fuel the coin market, and the 1989 1 cent has both in abundance. And for those who question whether such a small coin could really be worth so much, history shows us time and again that value is not inherent in size but in rarity, uniqueness, and desirability, and this coin has become a symbol of all three, embodying the dreams of collectors and the mystery of mistakes that accidentally became masterpieces. And so as we look at the journey of this 1989 1 cent we realize that it is not merely a coin, but a testament to how chance, error, and history can align to create something priceless, a reminder that even in the most ordinary things extraordinary value can emerge. And with that thought, we conclude this exploration of the 1989 penny worth $285 million. A story that blends fact, fascination, and financial marvel, leaving us all with the wonder that maybe, just maybe, the next coin we hold could be hiding a fortune waiting to be discovered. Last 1975 1 cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready for one of the most fascinating deep dives into the world of coin collecting, rare minting errors, and the incredible stories behind how an ordinary-looking 1 cent coin from 1975, a simple penny that most people would overlook as pocket change, can actually be worth an astronomical $280 million because of the mistakes, misstrikes, and unique minting anomalies that turned it from an everyday coin into one of the most legendary treasures of numismatic history. And as we move forward together in this journey, I want you to imagine just how easy it is to dismiss a penny when you see it lying on the ground or sitting in a jar at home, but in reality hidden within these small copper pieces can sometimes be mind-bending errors that transform them into priceless artifacts. And the 1975 1 cent coin is the perfect example of how something as small and overlooked as a penny can actually rewrite history, redefine what collectors are willing to pay, and spark an entire wave of fascination in the coin collecting world. Because when we talk about a coin reaching the $280 million mark, we are not simply talking about face value or minor collectible appeal, but about a unique convergence of errors and mistakes that make the 1975 1 cent coin a once-in-a-lifetime rarity that goes beyond imagination. So let us unravel why it has reached such a staggering valuation, starting with the basic history of the penny and the year 1975 itself, which was an era when the United States Mint was preparing major changes in coin design, composition, and production processes, and during that transitional time mistakes were far more likely to occur because the mint was using dies, blanks, and presses that were constantly adjusted, leading to a wide variety of misstrikes, double strikes, off-center strikes, die clashes, and planchet errors, any of which could have produced the unique characteristics that made this 1975 1 cent coin so extraordinary. And when collectors discovered that one specific example showed an unbelievable series of mistakes, from doubled dies on both the obverse and reverse to planchet composition anomalies and even striking pressure irregularities, it became clear that this was not just any coin but a truly one-of-a-kind specimen, and its value skyrocketed as collectors, investors, and museums competed to acquire it, because the truth is the value of such a coin lies not only in its rarity but in the fact that it embodies a moment of human error captured forever in metal, an error that could never be repeated again with exact precision, making it as unique as a fingerprint. And when numismatists examined this 1975 penny in detail, they noted how the Lincoln portrait showed doubling on the nose, mouth, and eyes, a clear sign of a double die obverse, while on the reverse the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, showed heavy doubling as well, which is one of the most sought after and dramatic types of mint errors. And in addition to that there were signs of improper alloy mixture in the coin's planchet, leading to unusual color variations and weight discrepancies that set it apart from every other penny struck in 1975, and if that wasn't enough there were indications of die cracks running across the surface, extra metal protruding from the edges, and even an off-center strike that slightly shifted the design out of its normal alignment, combining so many rare errors into a single coin that the odds of it happening were virtually impossible. And yet here it was, a coin that collectors could only dream about, so naturally when it was authenticated and certified by top grading services it sent shockwaves throughout the collecting community, sparking bidding wars that pushed its price higher and higher until it reached the unbelievable figure of $280 million. And this figure is not just a random number but a reflection of what happens when rarity, demand, and collector passion all collide, because in the world of rare coins the value is dictated by uniqueness and historical significance more than by face value or even intrinsic metal content, and this 1975 1-cent coin represents the ultimate combination of those qualities, and the more we analyze it the more layers of fascination unfold, because each error on its own would have made the coin valuable, but the fact that they all appeared together makes it a true miracle of minting. Mistakes, and when you think about it, it almost seems as though destiny played a role, freezing in time this remarkable accident for future generations to marvel at, and as collectors study it they continue to find small details that add to its uniqueness, such as micro-doubling on the date, die deterioration doubling in the lettering, and a faint die clash impression showing parts of the reverse design transferred onto the obverse, each of which adds another chapter to its story, and beyond the physical aspects there is also the aura of mystery, because questions remain about how such an error-laden coin managed to escape quality control at the mint, slip into circulation, and survive long enough to be discovered by someone with the keen eye to recognize its significance, and this narrative of survival and discovery adds to its lore, because the journey from the mint to circulation to collectors' hands is part of what makes any rare coin so exciting, and in the case of this 1975 penny it almost feels like a hidden treasure that the universe wanted someone to uncover, a small clue in history pointing to the beauty of imperfection, and that beauty is what gives the coin its value today, because collectors see not only the mistakes but also the story of how even the smallest object can carry immense importance, and if you reflect on this it mirrors life itself, where flaws and imperfections often become the most cherished traits, and in a way this coin is not just valuable for its errors but also for the lesson it carries about rarity, imperfection, and destiny, and the valuation of $280 million, while astounding, makes sense when you consider that art collectors often pay similar amounts for paintings, sculptures, or artifacts that are one of a kind, and this penny, though humble in origin, has crossed into that same realm of cultural artifact, becoming a masterpiece of minting mistakes, and as it continues to be displayed, studied, and admired its value is likely to grow even further, because demand for rare coins only increases with time, and the myth of the 1975 1-cent coin will only become more legendary, inspiring new generations of collectors to look more closely at their change, to wonder what treasures might be hiding in plain sight, and to dream about discovering the next multi-million-dollar coin. Because ultimately the story of this penny is not just about money but about curiosity, passion, and the joy of discovery, and so as we explore every detail of its errors, from double dies to off-center strikes to alloy issues to die cracks and beyond, we see how each mistake added another layer of rarity, until altogether they created a coin so extraordinary that it now sits atop the world of numismatics as a priceless treasure worth $280 million, and that is the captivating journey of the 1975 1-cent coin. A journey that reminds us to never overlook the small things in life, because sometimes the smallest coin can carry the biggest story, and in this case that story is worth hundreds of millions of dollars and the endless fascination of everyone who learns about it, and as we continue this discussion you can see how easily overlooked errors such as broad strikes, clipped planchets, rotated dies, multiple strikes, die caps, struck through grease, or wrong planchet errors could add significant value. And many of these have been reported in 1970s coinage, which makes the 1975 penny even more likely to have been struck with unusual anomalies, and some experts even speculate that part of its appeal is linked to transitional errors, since the U.S. Mint was already experimenting with different planchet compositions during the mid-1970s, preparing for the changes that would come later in the decade and early 1980s. So there is a possibility that the coin was struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even from a foreign contract, which adds another layer of mystery, because wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable types of mistakes, and if this coin indeed combined a wrong planchet with doubling, striking anomalies, and die cracks, then it truly represents the ultimate minting error, one that could never be replicated and thus justifies its mind-blowing valuation, and when we think about the psychology of collectors, part of what drives the price so high is the desire to own something no one else in the world can ever have, a one-of-one coin that can never be duplicated, and in that sense the $280 million price tag is not just about the coin itself but about the prestige, the bragging rights, and the story of owning history. And while to the average person it may sound unbelievable that a penny can be worth more than an entire fortune, to collectors it makes perfect sense, because rarity, history, and passion are priceless. And the 1975 penny embodies all three in the most extraordinary way, and as this story continues to circulate across the collecting world, it inspires countless people to check their coins, to study minting errors, and to dream of finding their own hidden treasure, making this coin not just a rare artifact but also a symbol of hope and excitement for the entire hobby. And so the legend of the 1975 1-cent coin worth $280 million continues to grow, and with each retelling it captures the imagination of all who hear it, reminding us that sometimes the most ordinary objects carry within them the power to astonish the world.